Welcome in week 13 recap and playoff scenarios. We only got 1 week left of the regular season. Is this not the best time of year going into the last week? All these different playoff scenarios going on.
It's the best
Bunch.
week of the year, absolutely, but it's like the ultimate Sunday scaries, knowing that fantasy football is wrapping up and it feels like it just started.
Yep,
We might as well just pick the draft order for next year, right, Jake?
that's right. Jake is going to be so excited to hear you say that. Yeah, this is so much. It's a fun week because we got everyone still playing right now and a lot of people still in it. A lot of things to get determined up at the top as well as down below. So there's just so much going on, especially with the two matchups. This added a little different twist into it as well. Been a super fun year, super, even throughout the entire league, like it seems to be for the last couple of years. So that makes it fun too. But yeah, let's get into it because there's a ton to cover. We're gonna go a little bit quicker on the recap portion of week 13, get more into those scenarios and what we're looking for in week 14, the last week of the regular season, because there's some good matchups to determine the playoffs. So week 13, we'll start with your matchup. It came down to me and you for the weekly prize. I did take the weekly prize for the second straight week for my two weekly prizes that I've gotten this year in the last 2 weeks. And you missed it by a point thanks to the Dalton
By a
Schultz
catch.
pointless. I had written it off that it was
That's
done
2 weeks
because
in a row.
Dallas was up so
Dalton
much.
Schultz has fucked me. Thank you very much.
You hate that guy, and he only had 5 points too. But that catch at the end that meant nothing when the game was over determines weekly prize. But regardless, you had 152. You smoked Ryan. He only had 101. That was a good win for you. A good 2-0 week.
Yeah, it feels good. I had some weird instinct not to play Kenny Walker this week. I don't know. I just felt like gonna switch
Oh,
it up
you
a little bit,
didn't?
play the
Yeah.
three wide receivers. Totally crushed that plan. Great to see AJ Dillon back. But yeah, love my three wide receivers and my running. Yeah, I feel great moving forward towards the playoffs. Just gotta say, Ryan, uh, competitive this year, but he traded himself to death.
Yeah.
Any shot he had, he traded away week in and week out. I mean, look, here we are at the end of the playoffs or end of the regular season. He's playing guys like Latavius Murray, Jacoby Myers, and Alan Lazard as his top players. That's just not the winning recipe when you had guys like Justin Jefferson. Sorry, Hills, you overthought it.
Yep. And he was obviously in a tough position, not having any running backs from the beginning, too, which is what we kind of all said at the draft. So, yeah, he ends up, we'll go through the standings. But yeah,
He got
Ryan,
Cam Akers finally.
he did. Cam Akers, Ryan, good pick. You know what? Third round, whatever it was, second running back. You know what? That 19 points this week on your bench. Good week. Um, yeah, you had that instinct, just like you do with Taysom Hill. You had the instinct that Ken Walker was going to get hurt in this game, apparently.
Yeah, I've just got something this year. Noah, watch out. Might be playing Taysom Hill this week against you. You might want to pick him up on waivers because if not, he's scoring 45 against your ass.
Taysom Hill, you see, was the tight end one this week. He was the top scoring tight end, and I think his stat line was like, because it was all from one play, and I think it was 40 something yards and one touchdown. That was the number one tight end for the entire week.
It's all it takes.
So we mentioned me 153-84 win over Barton Zach. I barely got the weekly prize. 40 from Jalen Hurts. That Hurts Smith connection was phenomenal for me this week. I had the top two running backs of the week with McCaffrey and Jacobs. Samaje Perine had 21, so it was a good week. Big win. Barton Zach waited all year, kept their IR spot for Hand Jibber King, and finally got the big reveal week 13. That was a bad use of words for that guy, but they finally rolled him out, and that's another one. Jesus. And he only got 5 points, so it wasn't worth it. But yeah, tough end to the year for them. They lost 4 straight and ninth place. So
Similar to Ryan, Bart
yeah.
traded himself to death. If he
Yep.
had Devontae Adams these last 4 weeks, he, obviously not in this exact situation, but he might have won some of those close matchups and been a different spot. But that killed him, and he traded for Tua. Geno Smith's been incredible, but he wanted to ride the hot hand job, hot hand, and play Deshaun Watson, which honestly,
Puns in this with
I
Deshaun
I
Watson.
I just felt that there was some bad bad juju, bad vibes there. I would have stayed away from that matchup. Looks like he hasn't played football in 2 years because he hasn't. And I think that's going to show. Curious to see how that affects other players in that Browns offense. But
Yep.
that's what you get. And Devin, you look great. I'm curious, though, for you, how much of this is the P. Ryan wave here?
Mm-hmm.
Are you feeling like next week we probably should have Mixon back? I mean, you've got guys, you've got some good guys on your bench. Don't get me wrong. You've got this is a dynasty roster here. You got all these rookies.
It's better than my dynasty team. I had 6. This is a weird stat that I don't know if I'm proud of or not, but I think I am. I had 6 running backs on my roster score more than 16 points this week. I can't play that many. I don't even know why I have that many. I have shit receivers now, but I got 6 running backs I could play. So
Andre would kill for one of those running backs next week.
Hey, trade deadlines this week. So
but yeah, I'd be curious when Mixon's back, will you kind of come back to earth? Because you're one of the hottest teams right now, riding Hurts, Jacobs. McCaffrey's gonna be a bigger part of that offense too. The question is Waddle. Is Waddle also,
is he hurt
what's his
still?
status moving forward?
It's to me, I have a deep team. It's all about playing the right guy. If I make the right decisions, I'm going to be tough to beat, but I very easily could make the wrong decisions and screw myself over. I've been doing better lately. Yeah, I've been doing I don't have a set starters right now, other than my 2 running backs. So I got to pick the right guy. I got to play him. And if I do, I'll, be hard to beat. If I don't, I can just automatically lose. So that's what it's going to come down to for me, I think. First place team all year, pretty much. Drew, 147, got the win over Jake in the matchup of the week. Jake had 129. Drew had a chance at the weekly prize as well, but it was just, only 10 points from Chris Olave last night. So didn't do it, but still got the big win. Still went 2-0 in the week and moves to 19-7 on the season. He had, Terry McLaurin, Tyreek Hill, phenomenal receiver duo this week, and Joe Burrow with 34. So, just pretty much what Drew has been doing this entire regular season, really.
Yeah, you can't really seem to catch Drew on a down week because when one player, does poorly, it seems like the others step up. He had subpar weeks for Austin Eckler and Miles Sanders, but Tyreek Hill and Terry McLaurin,
and Kelsey.
And yeah, Kelsey had a terrible week. And it's just incredible that he could still put up 147 points given that scenario. But good for Drew. He's consistent. Can we say he's going to be tough to beat?
Absolutely. Should be the 1 seed. He's the favorite. So Jake barely got the median with he had a catch. I didn't watch. I don't remember exactly which one. There was a catch at the end of the game. Mike Evans had whatever his last one was that got Jake the median. Barely over Kyle. So that got him a win. I mean, he's in third. It's really more for the bye week than anything. He's clinched playoffs, but he got the median. So he went 1-1 on the week. And another huge game from Tony Pollard. DK, since he traded for him from Chris, has been really good. I mean, he had 26 points this week, and Garrett Wilson is one of those rookie receivers that's really coming along at the back half of the year for Jake too.
Yeah, Jake, I think he's going to be kind of an underdog maybe in the playoffs, considering he's one of the top seeds. Obviously, losing Cooper Kupp most through the season was a big part of that. But yeah, Garrett Wilson's filling in with Mike White. Hopefully, they ride with Mike White and they don't go back to what's his name there, MILF Hunter. I forget. I forget his real name. Zach Wilson. Thank you. But yeah, so Jake's team is very solid, but some real streaky players in there. It'll be interesting down the stretch.
Yep, sure will. So those are 2 of the top teams in the league, 2 of the top 3. Moving on, Noah 141 to 129 over Kyle, and Kyle. These were the 2 hottest teams in the league coming into this week. Kyle's really made a great late season push. He just got off to such a slow start this year that it was too much to overcome, but Noah has won 9 straight games right now.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
9 straight. Second place, 17-9 right now. And I mean, Devontae Adams, 37 points. And that's what really has carried him. Also played his overall team. If you look at the week,
terrible,
was not good. Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry combined for 13 points, but he got 37 from Devontae and then 32 from the Browns defense, which is a great play playing against Houston. But 32 from the Browns D. So that's what led him to 41 in the 2-0 week. 141. Yeah.
Yeah, Noah, that was it. I mean, unbelievable that Kyle had a pretty good week, but if you got guys like Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry putting up combined 13 points on it, like that's your shot. That's your chance to beat someone. Not sure if we'll ever get that lucky again.
Yeah.
But we will see. Noah's team's great. Devontae Adams is just a monster. He gets like 12 targets a game and catches 2 touchdowns. No one's going to be able to beat that. Hopefully the Browns defense doesn't put up 32 points every week during the playoffs, but stranger things have happened.
Kyle's on the other end of that, devastating losing the league median because he was still in it, fighting hard this week, and going 0-2 put him out. So just losing that on that last Mike Evans catch was brutal. Kyle missed median by 0.12. It was that close between him and Jake. So that was a tough way for it to go for Kyle, especially on a week where he puts up 129. It wasn't like it was a bad week for him. It was pretty solid all the way through. And he has a player who looks to be maybe a league winner this year. And it sucks in our league that we're not going to get to see him in the playoffs at all is Christian Watson. He's had 8 touchdowns in the last 4 games. That's a huge reason and Kyle's pretty much played him the whole time too. So that's a huge reason Kyle's gone on such a tear. But like I said, he was just too far behind.
Yeah, tough start for Kyle, as you mentioned. Yeah, I'm looking at his team. He's got Tyler Lockett sitting on the bench. He just can't play 4 wide receivers, and he's got 4 great wide receivers. So that's a bummer there. But team's good. Just that running back position there is really really thin for him, and I just don't think that that's the. I know wide receivers are better than running backs this year, but you've got to have guys that you can roll out there on a week in, week out basis and feel good about. Kyle just wasn't able to put that together. But I gotta say, I'm sorry, Kyle, but I'm happy to see him not in the playoffs. He was really picking up steam and had me worried going into moving towards the playoffs. Does he give up the trophy at the end of the regular season or at the end of the whole season? Because I think
there's got to be a crowned champion before he gives up that trophy. So he's going to cling on to that throughout the entire playoffs and cry his tears into it before he has to hand it over.
He can polish it with his tears then, because time's up.
Last matchup of the week was a very important one for the playoffs. Andre 126, Chris 115. Neither team made the median. Andre lost Lamar Jackson on, I think it was the first drive, extremely early in the game. 1 point, still manages to put up 126 points and get the win. It looked like it was over for him this week after losing Lamar that early. And even Aaron Jones was kind of in and out of the game the whole time and only ended up with 10, but he did enough with, Diggs Jefferson is a ridiculous combination that no one team should ever have. 22 and 18 average games for them. And the Cowboys defense came through with 22. And the craziest thing is that it was a no ILO curse on Chris. If you weren't paying attention, it was during that Cowboys Colts game that Noah said, everyone look out, like Chris is coming. He's getting into the playoffs. And as soon as Noah said that, like 2 minutes later, pick 6. Sack, fumble, pick 6. It was ridiculous how many points the Cowboys defense scored in like a 10-minute period after that happened. So he is also now, you're not the only one that's been cursed by no ILO this season. Chris got it bad this week, and he still had a chance. Like, it looked for a while like he was only going to need 2 or 3 points from Kamara going into Monday night. After all that happened, ended up needing 18, and Kamara, terrible game, only had 12 carries for 26 yards.
I was going to say 2 or 3 points for Kamara is asking a lot, especially
Chris would have been sweating it out if that was the case.
Yeah, a down week for Andre is 126 points. Just crazy. Not really sure what they say. Lamar Jackson is day to day, week to week. Not really sure what that means as far as first week of the playoffs comes. But we're talking buys a little bit, and if Andre hadn't picked up the win against Chris here, and if Chris had beat him out, Andre would have been probably on the outside looking in for the playoffs, because he would have no Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but he's really lucky that he's 14-2 instead of 13-13 like myself, because that could have spelled disaster for him. He
Yeah.
won't have Lamar, Jonathan Taylor, or Aaron Jones next week. And there's no running backs to pick up because Devin has them all on his bench. And
Yep,
as far as Chris goes, he's just being plagued by these incredible players who don't do enough. Just guys like Najee Harris and Alvin Kamara, who at the start of the season I probably would have said would be in the top 5 for running backs, and they're terribly inconsistent. It's the AJ Brown show on his team. There's really no one else that to me is really got me worried. Juju Smith-Schuster's inconsistent. They move the ball around a little too much in that offense. He was without D-Hop this week, but Chris also has some significant buys next week with Alvin Kamara and Brian Robinson. So curious to see how he plays his team, and he could be in trouble.
In a huge game for him too for the playoffs. So yeah, so Chris going 0-2 on the week. Let's get into the playoff scenarios. We got some good ones. We were talking about it before. The reason this didn't end up being super complicated as I thought, there's crazy points for disparities. Obviously, that's the first tiebreaker after record. I mean, there's just normally I'd say, well, if this person wins and this person loses, but they outscore this person by this much, then that there's almost none of that this year because like Chris is on the outside looking in and he's got almost 250 less points than the guys he's trying to get in over. So I'll go through team by team, talk about it a little bit. So we'll go right down from 1 to 10. Number 1 is Drew. He's been in first place pretty much all year, as we mentioned, 19-7. He's got the most points for, clearly the deserving 1 seed. He's clinched the first round bye officially after this week. So he, no matter what happens here, Jake's in third. He's 3 games behind with only 2.
Drew only has
left.
20 more points for than me, just to be clear. It's not.
There you go.
Not that many.
I didn't say by a lot, but he's got the most.
I'm sitting in 5th place. Drew's in first.
Yep. So, but Drew clinched the first round bye. And it looks to me like barring something absolutely insane, he will be the number 1 overall seed going into the playoffs. He's got 102 more points than Noah, who's in second. Noah's the only team that can catch him for first. If Drew goes 0-2 and Noah goes 2-0 and Noah literally scores more than 102 more points, then it would flip. But it looks for all intents and purposes like Drew will be the 1 seed in the playoffs. Number 2, like I mentioned, is Noah. He's 17-9. He has obviously clinched the playoffs. So the top 3 clinched last week. So Noah's already in. Can still get, well, no, I mentioned he would have to outscore Drew by over 100. He clinches a bye by going 2-0. So Noah he controls his own destiny, 2-0. First round bye is it. As he's 1 game ahead of Jake and he's got 90 more points than him. So if they end up with the same record, Jake would have to outscore him by more than 90. So Noah's in a very good position here to get the first round bye. But if he went 0-2 and Jake went 2-0, Jake would overtake him. For Jake, who's all the way down in the 1596 with points, but he's 16-10. Like I mentioned, he has clinched the playoffs.
Jake needs a bye. If anyone really needed a bye to rest up, it's Jake.
Yep. That definitely rest those starters for him. Jake clinched playoffs already, which was huge for him. Can get the bye still, but he needs to go 2-0 and Noah has to go 0-2. That's assuming he doesn't outscore Noah by more than 90 this week. If that's the case, the only way he gets a bye is 2-0 and Noah 0-2. So I'll pause real quick. After the top 3, that's it for the bye. Andre can't get a first round bye. So those are the 3 teams at the top. So, thoughts on the top 3 there in some scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, congrats to them. I think that again, as I said earlier, I think that Jake is kind of the odd man out in that top 3. I think he's a lot weaker than Noah and Drew, but Drew's the top team.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. I don't think anyone is gonna really be able to beat him on his level. And I think for him to have a bye, him and Noah to have a bye, it's just going to set them up in a great position moving forward. A bunch of those, a lot, as we've talked, some of those hot teams right now are the teams that are going to be the 4, 5, 6 spots. So they get to sit it out, watch us all beat each other up and come in and just coast. So we'll see.
The 4 seed is Andre at 14-12. For all intents, he has not officially clinched. If you notice in Sleeper, you got the little star next to the guys that have clinched. He's not officially, but I'm going to declare that Andre has clinched the playoffs because he would need to go 0-2, have Chris go 2-0, and Chris would have to outscore Andre by more than 250 points. So we're
Chris, I believe. Chris, you can do it. Just play the right players. Andre has no running backs. It'd be lucky if Andre scores 30 points this week.
If Andre got 0, all Chris would need to do is get 250. So Andre's in the playoffs, and he's kind of where he's going to be. Honestly, there's not much for Andre to have decided. He can't get a bye, and he can't miss the playoffs. So he's going to be playing in the first round. Obviously, the seeds are up for grabs. He could jump Jake, get to the 3. So it's all just about matchups for Andre. Now the fun part. So the bottom 3 teams, I'm going to skip just so we can finish off with the real meat of it, because the bottom 3 teams are out. Kyle's been eliminated. Bart and Zach have been eliminated, and Ryan has been eliminated. All 3 teams, 9-17. None of them can get into the playoffs. So
just happy to see 2 of those team names not going to be showing up on the trophy.
Well, the 2 that I'm worried about are in 2nd and 3rd. So
I know. I mean, you gotta. Hey,
I would have rather face fuck.
Beggars can't be choosers.
So that leaves me, you, and Chris, the 3 of us fighting for 2 spots. So you are in 5th place, 13-13. Like you mentioned, you're 2nd place in points for this year, only behind Drew. So you've got the advantage there. You're 13-13. If you get 1 win, you clinch. That's all it's going to take. With your points, neither of us can catch you. You're going to just have to get a win against either the median or against Noah. 1 win, you're in. The only way you don't make it is if you go, all these things happen. You go 0-2. You could still make it at 0-2. If you go 0-2 and Chris and me both go 2-0, then we would both get in and you'd be out. That's the only way.
I liked what you said to me earlier, Dev. I sometimes I get kind of caught up playing against Noah. We've been bitter rivals since T-ball.
Noah ILO.
Yeah. Noah's really been a thorn in my side all year. I'm playing against the median. Ignore the noise. It's just the median. That's the goal this week.
You beat the median. It doesn't matter if Noah scores 200. You're in the playoffs. So you're in the best position of the 3 of us, obviously. I am currently sitting in 6th place. 2 weeks ago, I was in 9th place. I've been in 9th or 10th pretty much all season. The last 2 weeks, you
scored 300 something points the last 2 weeks.
The last 2 weeks have jumped me up. I've won 4 straight, and I'm now sitting in that last playoff spot. But me and Chris both have the same record. We're both 12-14. I'm sitting in 6th right now. If I go 2-0, I clinch because I have so many more points than Chris at this point. I have it's 150 at least. It's almost over 150 more points. So if I go 2-0, I'm in. If I go, it's going to come down to who has a better record between me and Chris, right? And if it's tied, it's going to go to me. Is really what it comes down to. If I go 1-1 and Chris is 2-0, then I'm out. If I go 0-2 and Chris is 1-1, then I'm out. So if Chris gets more wins than me, he's going to be in. But I feel good about having the advantage with points, not really having to worry about that side of it. So, yeah, I just need to not do worse than Chris. And
what happened with Chris? Chris was a couple weeks back, maybe it was 5 weeks or so ago. Chris was like one of the hotter teams, right?
Yep.
And he's just kind of, and it's funny, he got D-Hop back. It felt like he was finally where he needed to be, and it's just kind of like tripping over his own feet here as he's crossing the finish line.
It's all year, so he has 1,486 points. For reference, you have 1,761, and that's why you're not that concerned about him. It would have to be 0-2 and 2-0. But he's only got 20 more points than Hilsey on the season, who's in last with the least amount of points. So he's gotten very lucky in a lot of games, playing teams with their best players on bye, having guys go down early in games. Like, he's had a lot of that stuff happen. And for him, it just comes, like I said, he's got to get more wins than me. There's 2 ways he can get in. He needs to get more wins than me, because if we're tied, I'm getting in. So if he's 1-1 and I'm 0-2, if he's 2-0 and I'm 1-1, Chris gets in before I do. The only way that he can get in over you is if he goes 2-0 and you go 0-2. That would put him at 14 wins and you at 13. So that's what Chris needs. It's not going to come down to points, but he really, really needs a 2-0 week.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we also just kind of look ahead here a little bit. So, for example, next week, I'm playing Noah, as I mentioned. Devin, you're playing Jake, and Chris is playing
Bart and Zach.
So it's really a shame that none of us are playing each other. That would make for some great playoff intensity. It's just going to be these kind of outside factors. You have people like Bart, who hasn't been doing so great, that's playing Chris, but Chris has a bunch of guys on bye, as we've talked about. Dev, you've got Jake, who's in a pretty good spot, and I've got to face Noah. So anything's possible here. It's not like we're playing each other and one's gonna negate the other. These are all independent variables.
Yep, I got Jake with Fields on bye, so that's big. There's 6 teams on bye in week 14, which is nuts for the last week of our regular season. You've got Noah and Chris has Kamara and Brian Robinson on bye this week, so he's for his running back position. And but he's playing Bart and Zach, who haven't been playing very well. They've got Pittman and Cordell Patterson on bye. So yeah, that's like you said, all in 3 different matchups. And those 3 teams fighting for 2 spots. So the other matchups next week, Kyle and Hilsch, we don't have to worry about that. There's basically 4 matchups this week. They're both out. And we got the match of the week really is Drew versus Andre. Even though it doesn't have as many, major playoff implications, those are.
Is it really Drew versus Andre? Because Andre has no running backs. So I think Drew should be winning this matchup. He's favored. He's 75% to win right now.
Yeah. Well, Andre doesn't have Aaron Jones, doesn't have Jonathan Taylor, which Aaron Jones was in and out of the last game with injuries. So this bye week's coming at a pretty good time for Andre. But yeah, no Jones, no Taylor, and maybe no Lamar too, depending on that injury. So a lot of players missing for Andre, but luckily for him, he's going to be in the playoffs, so he doesn't have to worry about that. Drew has McLaurin on bye. He'll be fine. He's going to have the 1 seed pretty much. So that's what we're looking forward to for next week. So how you feeling about it? I mean, one of the most exciting weeks of the year. It feels like playoffs have started for me. Like, because like if
this is the play-in game. This is the play-in game,
yeah,
right?
If you don't
got our starters,
week,
we got our starters pitching in the 7th here because we got this is it. This is it. Winner go home.
Absolutely.
I feel good about it. But like I said, it really bugs me that none of us in that position are going to be playing each other. Like, I've got to worry about Chris playing Bart. I feel like to me those 2 wins are
different matchups we got to watch
are easier against Bart than they would have been against myself or Drew or someone like that. So it's really all up in the air, and I wish I had more control over the situation. But like I said, I think you've got people like you and I who have great points advantage over Chris just need to be focused on the median.
Yep, the median's huge.
Get that 1 win.
This has added a whole different element to these kind of games where before it might have completely screwed us that Chris was playing against the 9th place team, because then he just have to win. And it's like, okay, he's got a major advantage even if his team isn't as good. Now you got the median into play too. So like, doesn't matter that you're playing the 2nd place team. If you beat the median, you're in. So
all I can say is tune in next week to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Going to be super exciting. Kyle, hold on to that trophy as long as you can. And yeah, thanks for joining me. I get so excited for this recap as much as I do for the playoff ones, because I get to talk about all these scenarios and everything. So
I'm glad it was an easier one for you to put together this week.
Yeah, been looking forward to it. So, all right. Good luck this week.
Yeah, good luck, everybody.
May the best teams get in. And yeah, good luck in the fantasy playoffs. Thanks for joining, Sam.
Take care, everybody.
All right.